It has been 9 years since the last mainline Rocksteady Studios game, the Arkham franchise that pioneered the current slate of comic book video games that we've enjoyed and have to look forward to in the years to come. But finally, The Rock has come home. And when I say The Rock, I mean Rocksteady Studios. Finally, it has a new Arkhamverse game right around the corner. In fact, for those getting the deluxe edition, this very month we'll have our hands on the game and finally be playing it. This game, since its first meaty gameplay reveal, has been met with skepticism, but personally, I've maintained since day one, it looks just a ton of fun. Today, I want to talk about 5 reasons as to why you should be excited about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. First of all, if you are excited, you might want to scroll down and hit that subscribe button, as I'm going to be covering everything on this game right up to launch and everything after that. So, first up, it's a return to the Arkhamverse. I've made several videos on this channel revisiting each Arkham entry, but what's so brilliant about one is not what makes the next entry so good. We've explored the creaking, rotten depths of the asylum, the mystery and the wonder of City, and of course the fear-induced barren Gotham City in night. One thing that has always stood out in Rocksteady games is their DC world building. Asylum set the tone for who this Batman is, his history, not just through the characters you met, but the environment, the character bios, the recordings. Arkham City alluded to the wider Bat mythos with the League of Assassins, the Bat family, and a few nods elsewhere. And Knight firmly established the wider DC universe, with calls from Lex Luthor, references to Metropolis, Star City, and even Starro in the Batgirl DLC. The reason that Arkham games are so loved is not just the incredible Batman gameplay, it's the way they captured an authentic Batman world, told an authentic and real Batman story that took risks that would fit right in with the comics, but all with a design that showcased Rocksteady's own identity, their own unique spin. Now, we get to visit Metropolis. That wider DC universe is about to come to a head. The Hall of Justice, the Justice League themselves, monuments to these heroes scattered all throughout the city. When you think about the depth of Gotham we saw in Arkham Knight, graphics that still hold up in 2023, I can't wait to see this realised version of Metropolis, or the Easter eggs, establishing this Justice League. Who have they fought? Where's Batman been since Arkham Knight? How long have they been formed? Seeing Metropolis on this scale does nothing but excite me for the sandbox that we're going to get to explore and fight in, not to mention a face-off against the Justice League themselves. Speaking of which, the second reason you should be excited for this game is its narrative. Rocksteady have been known to take risks, whether that be spoilers for the Arkham games if you haven't played them, killing Joker in Arkham City, Ivy and Knight, and other little risks here and there. Listen, there's millions of comic storylines out there. It's not that they haven't been done before, it's how they're done. Now we're facing off against the Justice League and ultimately Brainiac. And I know that people wanted a fight against Brainiac as the Justice League, but this is what Rocksteady wanted to make, and I trust their vision. Will we kill the Justice League? Will we defeat Brainiac? Will we save any of them? Not just that, but getting to know these characters. I know the writing in the trailers hasn't worked for everyone, but I really feel that Harley, Boomerang, Shark and Deadshot will be a lot deeper and more fleshed out than what we've seen. Not to mention, getting to know these members of the Justice League. Superman, who's a beacon of hope to so many, is once again in that evil Superman trope, but I can't wait to see Rocksteady's spin on that. It's one of them where I feel like we've seen so much of the game, so what's Rocksteady hiding? Do we have more League members in there maybe? A certain Atlantean or maybe a Martian? Whether you're looking at this game in a skeptical way or not, one thing I have no doubt about is that Rocksteady's ability to craft a compelling and authentically DC narrative. I think the story is going to be really, really strong. The third reason to be excited for Suicide Squad is that gameplay, baby. Between traversal, gunplay, abilities and fucking flying cars, it looks so much fun. I really think the combat sandbox is exciting. I've played hundreds of hours in Marvel's Avengers, and whilst I liked that gameplay, it always felt a little janky. Feedback wasn't quite right, traversal was a little stiff. Everything we've seen so far on this game, it looks the opposite. Whether that be Boomerang speeds his abilities, Deadshot's rockets, King Shark's fucking swanton bomb in the area, or Harley grappling around on the Batglider. As someone with over 1,000 hours in Destiny, I still have my questions on the loot, the chase for it, the rarities, how these weapon manufacturers are going to play out, but ultimately, The Last Insider gave me a lot more confidence as to how that's going to shake out in being successful. The animations here just look really fluid. I think what excites me is that Rocksteady were the real founders, if you like, of free flow combat. I'm not saying they did it first, but they were definitely the one to put it on the main stage. So now, what's their spin on the shooter? How do they innovate? How do they bring the Rocksteady flair to the looter shooter space? There's of course the potential that they get it wrong, but to me there's also more of an opportunity to get it right. When you think of the Arkham games, you think of the creativity on display and how you deal with a situation. You think of the fluid nature of the combat. You think of the way it captures Batman's methods. How are they going to apply that to a third-person looter shooter? If they find a way to make that combat loop addicting and fun, we're on to a winner. And everything we've seen so far, it does look to be along that path. I know there's a common sentiment that it's just 4 anti-heroes with guns and there's no diversity, but I disagree. Harley, for example, is more athletic, swinging and hanging in the sky, only using handguns and SMGs, compared to Deadshot, who's more like patrolling from afar and getting that real verticality, hitting from long range with his assault rifle and sniper. I really like the fact that, for example, Harley doesn't rock with a sniper, and nor does Deadshot use an SMG. I think it really encourages you to play across all 4 characters to see which suits your style, up close and personal with Boomerang, or acting as air support for Deadshot. Not to mention, how will skill trees flow into that playstyle? Melees to then deal crit damage. Are you going to go more long range? Are you going to focus on grenades? I hope it takes inspiration from the Arkham games in the fact that it's easy to learn but hard to master. The Arkham games were just as much a rhythm game as it was an action combat game. So if Suicide Squad kind of keeps that rhythm in its shooting, I'm pretty excited about that, I can't lie. The 4th reason I think you should be excited for this game is the boss fights. We know for a fact that Batman, Flash, Green Lantern and Superman have been controlled. We're yet to see if Wonder Woman is going to go under Brainiac's influence or not. When I think about the strong foundations of the Arkham series, I think of the boss fights too. The boss fight against Scarecrow in Asylum, Raish, Clayface and Freeze in City, Johnny Charisma in Night. And now you're telling me that they've got free reign with Batman, Superman, Flash and Green Lantern? Not to mention the inevitable showdown with Brainiac himself. I mean, we've seen fairly chunky looks at some of the boss fights with Flash and Green Lantern and some of the mechanics on display there. And that's without even mentioning fucking Nightmare Batman using the fear toxin. When I think about the creativity of the Arkham franchise, I think, how can they transfer over to a co-op shooter? How do you keep interesting mechanics that are also fun and unique to each encounter with these heroes? With so much time spent in Destiny 2, there's certainly things you can do to make sure that boss fights aren't just this one huge target with a weak spot that you just unload into for hours and hours. Like I say, we've seen next to nothing of Brainiac and the excitement of that potential boss fight. I mean, if the Justice League can't beat him, how the hell can we? I'm hoping that we get some kind of use out of the tentacles, please, please, please have that boss fight on his ship, I beg. Injustice 2 style, you know what I mean? One final aspect on this is, having been Batman for 4 games in the stealth environments or performing the beatdowns, now we're on the other end. I can't help but feel excited at that. I think too, looking ahead, can these fights become parts of raids and dungeons in future content? And well, speaking of looking ahead, the final reason to be optimistic and excited for this game is the live service aspect. And I feel like, hey, I've just got that Bethesda response, everyone disliked that. But just hear me out, alright? There's a reason they keep trying for these comic book properties to turn into live service models. If they can truly crack it, the potential is huge. We've been promised new gear, story content, characters and in-game activities alongside seasons, and that's the general live service shenanigans, but if they can get it truly right, the comic book nature of it is massive. Between new characters to really spice up the sandbox like Black Manta, or a little shout from me, maybe, Sinestro using his ring to create his own assault rifles and stuff, just saying. But Suicide Squad as a whole, say we defeat Brainiac, defeat more League members, whatever, cool. What about Task Force X contracts? Even bringing in Vandal Savage down the road, wider DC villains, maybe setting up the potential of a Darkseid chapter, who knows? I just think it's pretty exciting. Whether you wanted a Justice League game or not, the idea of this evolving DC world and narrative as a comic book and DC fan, surely you can't help but feel excited about that. As of the time of writing this video, we know that the next insider is all focused around the future and post-launch content of this game. This will obviously give us a clearer idea of, what can we expect. But like for me, let's say Brainiac somehow maintains control of other League members. Say we introduce Black Manta alongside some kind of story content with Aquaman, and that's a dungeon or raid that culminates in a boss fight against him. That's pretty cool, right? Maybe even set it in Atlantis as like a one-time zone. I really think that Rocksteady can take a pretty drawn out and standardized seasonal model and make it more exciting. This obviously requires the game to launch well, because the one thing that I think really killed Avengers in having any chance of being a successful live service game was the technical state that it launched in. They had to push back all the new content that they were working on so that they could fix the game, and by the time they could finally get new content out, it's too late. So on this part, let's see what they got cooking in the insider, let's see what shape the game launches in, and we'll take it from there. So, there you have it. 5 reasons to be excited for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, I want to know in the comments down below, what are you most excited for about this game? If you're looking to stay up to date on Suicide Squad, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button, as I'm going to be covering everything on the game from now, launch, and everything beyond that. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps out my channel, and I appreciate it more than you know. Have a terrific day, and I'll catch you in the next one.